What's up, everybody? I'm Bo from Brutal Commentary, and today I'll be breaking down our main card opener for UFC Fight Night 276. In this one, we've got Timothy Cuamba taking on Bernardo Sopaj. And honestly, this is a pretty solid fight compared to some of the lower level matchups on this card, and there are a few. This one actually feels like two legitimate rising bantamweights trying to build momentum. Now, neither guy has fully broken out yet, but with a win here and maybe another solid performance afterwards, I could definitely see one of these two starting to enter the top 20 conversation. You know, up there with like the Ricky Simones, the Adrian Yanez's, and whatnot. It's still a little early, but I think Timothy Cuamba and Bernardo Sopaj, they're pretty good, and I think well, at least one of them is gonna reach that level. As for who, well, whoever it is, they got to win this matchup first. So with that out of the way, let's get down to the breakdown. Starting with Timothy Cuamba, he's honestly a pretty good, well-rounded fighter. Primarily, I still classify him as a striker first. Cuamba, he's got solid timing, good athleticism, and some genuinely dangerous offense. I think of the jumping switch knee he landed on Roberto Romero immediately comes to mind. Honestly, that was, I think, Cuamba's best performance in the UFC either way. I mean, it was a great finish. Like I said, switch knee, caught Romero right in the chin, and finished it off from there. That's the kind of strike that shows not only explosiveness, but confidence in the timing. Overall, Cuamba's striking is fluid and dangerous enough to give people problems. But what I also like about Cuamba is that he doesn't just completely rely on his striking. He shows some good offensive wrestling, like against Balaji Oki, and his defensive grappling looked respectable too, especially against Chang Ho Lee. So while I'd say striking is Cuamba's A game, he's definitely well-rounded enough to mix things together effectively. Now, I think the biggest weakness of Cuamba is that he takes on more powerful strikers than him. There'll be times where his game is kind of shut off. Now, like I said, he does have good wrestling. He's got good grappling, but with the striking being his A game, if you're able to take the A game away from him, sometimes it looks like Cuamba's lost. Like I think of Lucas Almeida, who was able to drop him a few times, who kind of took Cuamba out of his game. While at the same time, Balaji Oki, that was more of a short notice fight up two weight classes actually. So that one is less weakness and more like just circumstances. But still, I do think Cuamba sometimes struggles when he takes on better strikers. Now, looking at Bernardo Sopaj, I think he's cut from a similar cloth stylistically with Cuamba. Sopaj, he's also well-rounded, also primarily a striker, but the way he approaches striking is a little bit different. Sopaj's boxing is probably the cleanest aspect of his game. Excuse me. I really like his body-head combinations, and overall, Sopaj's offense feels a bit more structured and deliberate. Where Cuamba can sometimes flow off athletic instincts and timing, Sopaj feels more methodical in his approach. He feels more planned out in the offense, not just in the moment, but like really calculated in the offense. There's a clearer idea behind what he's trying to land. Now, on top of that, Sopaj's wrestling and grappling are pretty solid as well. I mean, this guy was able to out-wrestle Vinicius Oliveira in Vinicius Oliveira's debut. And while I know Oliveira looked pretty bad against Mario Batista, we got to remember, this guy is huge, right? He's walking around the 180s. He's about the same size as Justin Gaethje. The fact that Sopaj was able to have good moments and out-wrestle Oliveira really shows how good of an offensive wrestler he can be. And defensively, he held up well against a tricky grappler in Ricky Turcios. So like Cuamba, it shows Sopaj's not one-dimensional at all. Well, he's well-rounded himself. He can strike, he can wrestle, grapple, and transition between phases pretty comfortably. So, stylistically, this is one of those fights where both guys are good enough everywhere that it becomes less about stylistic image, striker versus grappler, that kind of stuff, and more about who's simply sharper right now. Against I like to think of it like this. Between two well-rounded fighters, it usually comes down to two things. One, whose A game is better, and two, who's just simply the better fighter? Who's the better striker, grappler, wrestler, etc.? Who is the better guy? And honestly, I slightly lean Sopaj in most of those areas. Not by a huge margin, but enough to matter. I think Sopaj's boxing is a bit cleaner technically. I think his offensive choices are a bit more disciplined. And in the grappling exchanges, I trust him just a little bit more. Now, Cuamba absolutely has the athletic explosiveness to create moments, and he could very well hurt Sopaj at some moment during the fight. But over the course of 3 rounds, I think Sopaj's consistency gives him the edge, and like I said, just a bit clearer on what he wants to do with his offense. Now, I expect a pretty competitive striking battle early on. Cuamba will probably have moments with kicks, movements, and explosive attacks. But as the fight settles in, I think Sopaj starts winning the cleaner exchanges, landing the better combinations, controlling range a little more effectively, and mixing in occasional wrestling to keep Cuamba guessing. Now, I think Cuamba could offensively wrestle too, but like I said, Sopaj's got pretty good defensive grappling. He's got pretty good takedown defense. I just don't think Cuamba has the same wrestling skills as Sopaj. And once the fight becomes more technical and methodical as well, I just think that favors Sopaj in that type of matchup. So for my final assessment, this feels like a fight between two good young bantamweights who have real upside to them. But right now, I think Bernardo Sopaj just looks slightly more polished overall. Not dramatically better. I don't think, one guy is A, the other is B. I think both of them are of roughly the same level, but one is slightly more cleaner, more composed, more complete, and just simply a little bit of a higher level. So, for my official prediction, I'm going to go with Bernardo Sopaj, and I'm going to pick him via decision. I thought I could get a finish, but I don't really think it's going to happen. So, Cuamba showed really good durability against the lightweight in Belagioki. So, pretty good durability against Lucas Almeida, who hits pretty hard at featherweight. And overall, I just think it's Bernardo Sopaj. I just think he's going to land cleaner box combinations, win the grappling exchanges, and overall have a much more clearer performance. So, once again, I'm picking Bernardo Sopaj, and I'm going to pick him via decision. But with that being said, that's been my breakdown of this matchup. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, leave a comment down below on who you think's going to win. Until then, I've been Bo from Brutal Commentary. I thank you all for listening. And remember, stay calm, stay respectful, and enjoy the violence. I'll see you all next time.